Food waste is the biggest bummer. Not only is it sad to throw your food away, but it's a waste of money too. Whether it's the stuff that just gets pushed to the back of the refrigerator and completely forgotten about, or leftovers that pile up day after day and never get eaten. I'm Ronnie with Plan to Eat. Let's talk about some ways that you can avoid food waste and use up what you already have. First and foremost, if you have a lot of food waste, you need to be creating a meal plan every week so that the food that you purchase at the grocery store actually has a purpose. When you write out your meals for the week and then go to the grocery store, you're not buying at random, you're buying with intentionality, and that's how food gets used up and not thrown in the garbage. Creating a meal plan means that you don't buy that bag of spring mix just because you hope you're going to use it. You buy it because you actually have salad planned in your week. Now you can create a meal plan however you like. You can use things like a whiteboard or an app like Plan to Eat. But the most important part about creating a meal plan is that it gives the items you buy a job. If you're already creating a meal plan and you still find that you have food waste, one of the things that you need to think about is planning less. This means not planning every meal of every day because that's clearly a little too much for your family. In my own meal plans, I only plan 4 dinners a week because that gives me the opportunity to have one night of the week where we eat the leftovers that we've had from other meals, and we can make sure that we use up other ingredients that might go to waste. This also allows room for a spontaneous night to go out to eat or just eat a simple staple meal at home that I already have in the cupboard. When you plan fewer meals in your meal plan, it just gives you space in your week to use up the food that you already have. All right, the next thing you want to do to avoid food waste is to put stuff in the freezer before it goes bad. This can be things like bread before it goes bad, fruit before it goes bad. Putting things in the freezer is kind of like giving ingredients a job in the future. When you pull things out of the freezer, sometimes they don't have the exact same application in a recipe as they would when they're fresh, such as tomatoes. Once they go in the freezer, they're probably more suitable for a soup or a sauce when they come out of the freezer. But the magic about putting things in the freezer is that basically anything can be frozen and it prevents it from going in the garbage. The next thing to think about when you're meal planning is to try and coordinate your meals. This means that throughout your week, you're trying to coordinate your meals with as many similar ingredients as possible. This is going to mean that when you buy that cilantro, you're going to use it all up in 1 week. Or when you buy a head of cabbage, you're going to use it all up in 1 week. I think coordinating your meals is most important for items that don't go in the freezer as well. So if you like tomatoes to be fresh in your recipes, try to coordinate them in different recipes during your week. Or if you have a dairy product that you don't normally buy, like Greek yogurt, try to find multiple recipes where you can use it up in the week because it's not going to freeze as well as some other things. Now, this last tip is a little niche, but it's really important from a budgeting perspective, which is to avoid obscure ingredients for your recipes. Especially when we try new recipes, there's often an ingredient that's a little obscure, or maybe we're just unfamiliar with it and not sure how we would use it in other recipes. I want to caution you against buying some of these ingredients, and if you can find a substitution in the recipe for something you're a little more familiar with, I recommend doing that because you want to have ingredients that you're going to know how to use and know how to use up. A great example of this is if a recipe calls for a couple tablespoons of a fancy kind of sauce or spice. It's good to see if you can work around that flavor or find something to substitute that is really similar, but you know you're going to use. Because that saffron or that expensive fish sauce might only get used in that one recipe, and then the rest of it goes to waste. And finally, a bonus tip for you is before you head to the grocery store, make sure you double check your fridge, freezer, and cupboards for anything that you already have so you're not double buying ingredients. I hope some of this information will help you reduce your food waste and maybe repurpose some of the items that you already have at home. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and I will see you again soon.